All right, guys, now that we've talked about how to factor a perfect square trinomial and that you realize that you need perfect square trinomials when you're going to write the center radius or standard form of the equation of a circle, we're going to talk about how to create a perfect square trinomial when one doesn't exist. And it's a process called completing the square. And in order to understand this a little bit better, we're going to use some tiles or some visuals here, and I'm going to explain to you what each of these represents. So we're going to look at this blue block right here is an x by x dimension block. So that would be x squared if we were finding the area of that particular block, okay? The pink one next to it is 1 by x, okay? 1 unit by x units long. Okay, so the area of that would just simply be x units. Okay, and then if I look at the yellow square, or the yellow block, that's going to be a 1 by 1 square. Okay, so as you can see, if I look at this as a quadratic, I could say x squared plus x plus 1, if I put all that together. So let's say that I'm given a quadratic that looks like this. Let's say I'm given x squared plus 6x, and I want to figure out how many of those yellow blocks I would need to complete my square. Okay? Well, if I look at these 6 x's and I wanted to rearrange it to where it looked more like a square, I could take half of that 6 and move it down here to the bottom. Okay? So then what I would end up having is 3 of those x's here, 3x, and then 3x here. So I got x by x up here, plus 3x, plus 3x, okay? Then I need to figure out how many of these blocks, how many of the yellow blocks would I need to fill in here to complete my square, okay? Well, the number of yellow blocks, remember these would all be 1 by 1. So I've got 1, 2, 3 by 1, 2, 3. And if I multiply 3 by 3, I'm going to end up with 9. So I would need 9 of those yellow blocks to complete my square. So I've got x squared plus 6x, because I've got 3x here, and then plus 9 to get this one. So let's stop and think how we got this number 9 for a second up here. So we got the number 9. Remember a second ago, we took the 6, we divided it in half. So we were left with 3 up here, 3 down here, and then we did 3 times 3, which is 3 squared. So we took the 6, divided it in half, and then we squared it, okay? And if we look at what we got there, we ended up with x squared plus 6x plus 9. That created this perfect square trinomial, x plus 3 squared. And that's what we end up with here. So we got x plus 1, 2, 3 times x plus 1, 2, 3. The 9 is what was missing a while ago, okay? So if we look at the standard form of a quadratic again, you've got ax squared plus bx plus c. Provided that your a term is 1, the way that you find this c term that completes your square is that you take the b term, which in the case of our example a second ago was 6, you divided it by 2 and you squared it. So you take the b term, you divide it by 2, and you square it. That's what gives you the c term. Okay, guys? So that's what you need to do to complete the square. Take your b term, divide it by 2, and square it. That's how you complete the square. So let's look at a couple of the examples on the next page of notes. Okay? So right here, it says, find the term that completes your square. That's what we want to do here. So remember what we would do is we would take our b term, we would divide it by 2, and we would square it. This is just like the example I showed you on those paper slides. So I would do 6 divided by 2, and I would square it. That would give me 3 squared, which is 9. Okay? The next one, same process. You take the b term here. Remember, the b term is the coefficient in front of your linear. That's your variable raised to the first power. So the b term here is 18. The c term is your constant. That's the number without a variable next to it. So I'm going to take the 18, I'm going to divide it by 2, and I'm going to square it. So that becomes 9 squared, which is 81. Okay? Now, a negative works the same way. You would take the negative 10, divide it by 2, and you would square it. So that would give you negative 5 squared. And remember, when you square a negative, you still get a positive, so that would be plus 25. Okay? And then your last one, you would do the same thing there. You would take your b term, negative 13, you would divide it by 2, and you would square it. Now, that's going to give you 169 over 4, and you can just leave it like that for right now. Okay? All right.